We have two journalists on stage, and you normally run the show, and this time I'm running the show. We're going to find out all about you. So, almost not need an introduction, but I've written one, so let's go with it. In recent years, we've seen her on Strictly Come Dancing, we've heard her on Radio 2, we've watched her in the twists and turns of The Traitors, most recently had our heartstrings tugged in the piano, love that program. Maybe you've read her book, yeah, I'm a geeky, I did read it, and got her to sign it earlier. We've discussed her eyeliner, and of course, The Fringe. And I'm absolutely delighted that today we have got the BAFTA award-winning presenter, radio personality, and journalist, Cluaudia Winkleman. So as ever, I'm going to be relying on a little bit on all of you asking questions, because I'm not that great with popular culture. I know a bit. I read your book, I watched the piano, I watched Traitors. I've got some questions.
That's all more than enough. More than any of my family members have ever done, so don't worry.
But if any of you have got some burning questions, you know what to do, and we will get to those in a bit. But
what do they do?
They pop their questions onto Slido, and it comes up on that screen over there.
That's a disgrace. Or just stand up. Your choice.
So let's dive in. You were on Radio 2 until recently, but you stepped back, and you said because you wanted to spend more time with family. Why was that so important to you?
OK, well, number one, thank you so much for having me. And number two, I apologise in advance for just how orange I am. I chose a different tone yesterday, and even I think it might be too much. So I love Radio 2, and I'm incredibly lucky that I had that job. But I don't know if some of you have offspring. My daughter was 4, literally 5 minutes ago, and holding my hand and chatting and enjoying stickers. And she's just done her Maths A-level today, and she's leaving. And I sort of got all weird about it, because I'm not actually going to let her go, don't worry. And my little one is 12, and I suddenly thought, I just need that time back. But I love Radio 2 and I'd love to go back there. But you know how in life sometimes things have different time slots. And when I said yes to Radio 2, I didn't have Traitors, where I go to Scotland for 4 weeks, and I didn't have the piano where we travel. So I feel bad. It wasn't playing favourites. It was just like, I would like the weekend. And then if she gets into university, although judging by the conversation we just had, it's not looking good. Then I just want to go and visit her, and I want to visit her with my youngest and maybe my eldest kid. And I don't know if you guys have worked weekends. I don't mind working weekends for Strictly, because that's 3 months of the year, and to me that's just Christmas. But I thought, what if in March? And anyway, I love Radio 2, and they don't really like it when you take too much time off. I was like, OK, so depending on where she goes, if I come off air at 1, and then by the time we've gone to the train station, and I've bought a Greggs, and then I've picked him up, and then and I just, anyway, and the boss was lovely, called Helen, and I was like, just not right now, but please, maybe one day can I come back? To which she said yes, but I think we all know she meant no.
So how do you think that kind of experience where you've been able to do that is very different in your family prioritising compared to how you grew up with your very famous mother, journalist, Eve Pollard?
Yes, yes. Love you for that, Debbie. So Mum worked really hard, but she put us first also. So she was proper, she was a newspaper editor, and she worked in Fleet Street. But I remember when she was working on a Sunday paper, she would always come home on Saturday and then go back to the office to put the paper to bed and to check the splash and this and then that. So, and she was like, always call me if you've got any issue at all. And I know that she was in like really important meetings, and I would phone up and I would go, I'm not being funny, but if I was writing an essay on the Civil War, where would you start? And she was like, about that. I go, not right now. So I think everybody here, always put their family first. Like, work is fine, right? But it is also only work.
Yeah. So
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say that.
You're
I said
allowed
that
to
was
say
not
that.
the right thing to say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. People come first, I think, every single time. So you talked about, say, Strictly, 3 months, long hours. I think when we spoke a few weeks ago, you were talking about 18-hour days. So how do you then look after your own well-being when it's that intense at work?
Well, number one, I'm the orange person who reads out loud. So there are people, everybody else is working much harder. That's A. B, and also, this sounds disgusting, but I'm incredibly grateful for that job because I hate the gratitude list. I have no interest in any of that, but I am incredibly grateful for that job, so I would never complain. C, pizza, and chocolate pretzels, and D, I don't know about. I'm so interested in where you all work or the people that you're in charge of, what kind of system they work in. But the amazing thing about Strictly is we all feel like we are miniature cogs. I'm not even a whole cog. I'm a screwdriver in a cog of this big, beautiful, sparkly orange train, and we're all in it together. So the lighting boys are phenomenal. The props boys are my favourites. They are always carrying around a gazebo or a miniature Eiffel Tower. All right, Claude? Yes. And they have... Anyway, I was about to say something I shouldn't, but they know everything. And the hair and makeup who have got in so much earlier. So I'm just we're all miniature. And I don't mean this in a bad way to any of the men in the room. It is a female-led team. So our exec is Sarah James. Our commissioning editor is Jo Wallish. Our director is a BAFTA award-winning director. It is predominantly, I'd say it's 98% women. There was a man once, he seemed fine. And we've been through, and it's the same, I know this is nauseating, but it is sort of a family. We've been through so somebody just had a baby. We're very excited that Suki will be with us for the whole next series, and I'm going to make a special area in my room. And so the baby will come, and I got a puppy last year because my kids grew up and I had to breastfeed something, and they too much. I'm only just beginning, and so they allowed me to bring the dog. So everybody looks after everybody else. If that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
But mainly cogs.
And you're a big believer in having creche at work. Do you have a doggy creche and a kiddie creche?
Well, my children are older than you.
But I mean for the baby, Suki.
Yeah, but my mum was a massive believer in it, and I think taking for mums and dads, if you need to, I'm not saying necessarily every day, but I think that would be entirely useful, and it's happening more and more in telly. Some editing suites, you go in and there's a small puppy and there's a 4-year-old.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, not necessarily together, although that would be pleasant, but might need to be monitored.
Yeah, we had a baby here 3 years ago. She's had her 3rd birthday last week, but I noticed that people didn't bring her with this time. I think a 3-year-old's different to somebody in a pram. So the traitors, I got completely hooked. I had to go back to the beginning and start watching. I couldn't work out who had betrayed who and so on. And I thought, what can we learn about well-being from the traitors? Because it's so much lying and backstabbing. You have got an answer to this one. We just discussed this one. So what is it that you learnt from the traitors about the way that people communicated that could be quite useful in this room? What was it that came through?
Well, they're a lot like I was telling you on the phone. I find it is a privilege to be part of that show. I love it so much. We've just filmed series 3. I know. There's so much I want to say. I know. But find me in January. And honestly, it's an honour that I can stand there at that round table where I have to just hide. And I have an earpiece just in case, because I've got a lovely boss, Sarah. Not saying bosses strictly, I only like Sarah, as it turns out. But she's amazing. And she doesn't interrupt because we're so scared. Like, she doesn't say anything. I just go in and I either say, whatever. And sometimes she says to me, just control your breathing. Because it is so intoxicating. And what I've learned quite a lot. Some things I've learned that are quite difficult, which is if you look a certain way and if you present yourself in a certain way, nobody's going to pay any attention to you. And that was difficult to learn when I saw it in real life. So Maddie in series 1 knew. She didn't know why, but she knew. But she was a young, blonde girl. I don't know, maybe that I'm being unfair, but nobody listened to her. And then Jazz knew, and nobody listened to him. And I think what we've all learned is it doesn't matter what you know. If you can't persuade people, it counts for nothing. And then the other thing I've learned, which is really difficult, so I probably shouldn't share it to you, is I don't know about you, but I was told my entire life, trust your gut. You know, should you go out with him? Should you have a baby now? should you take this job? Trust your gut. Your gut will know. Like, your gut will tell you. Should you leave him? Should you find a different group of friends? Should you let your daughter pursue a dream of chemistry? Or whatever. Just trust your gut. And what I have learnt is your gut knows nothing. It knows shit. And what we do afterwards is we write the narrative that fits in the space. You know, we go, well, do you know what? I knew it. I knew to say yes to traitors. I felt it in my gut. Bollocks. I mean, they said I could wear tweed. So and it feeds into the fear, which is people are lying to us or people aren't being completely honest with us. But if that happened, I would know, and it turns out we don't. So yeah, we're thicker than I thought, and maybe that's charming.
So shifting to something much sweeter.
But well done. I mean, you guys all have guts you can trust.
Yeah, they have to do pay reviews and tell people they're not getting pay rises, all sorts of tough stuff out there. So on a much lovelier, this is my last pre-prepared question I'm going to ask now before I go to audience questions. I've got some others, but I think there's some good ones coming up on the list there. But I want to ask about piano. I absolutely love that one. And watching that, these wonderful, skilled, talented people, very unsure of themselves. Some of them you could say were a little bit on the nerdy side, perhaps, and lots of them came from difficult backgrounds, and yet they were able to go up on stage in front of 2,000 people and perform. How, and I think that's valuable for everybody in this room and the people you manage, how do you take somebody where you can see the talent, you can see the skill, and give them that confidence to do what they can't see themselves?
Well, we have an amazing team, and we all do it together. And we have enormous belief in them. And again, it's an honour to do that show because they are brimming over. I mean, talent is oozing out of their ears. There is also a thing about, stay with me, I used to have really quite chronic, don't laugh, arachnophobia. And I was professionally treated for it because I couldn't go on holiday. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go to the countryside. I lived next to a tube station. I used to have to cover my eyes if I went into it. Anyway, it was pathetic. But I saw somebody, and there's something called, I think it's called laddering, which is if you have a group of people, you stand on top of somebody's shoulders and you pull somebody up. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I was partnered in this arachnophobia course with a man called Richard, who couldn't have tomatoes in his house because the tops of tomatoes reminded him of spiders, and he burst into tears and at one point said, "Hold me." I did. We're now married, no. And so what the pianists, the amateur pianists, need us, they need the team, they need to be encouraged, they need to be made to feel good, they definitely need mentoring time with either Mika or Lang Lang, but they also genuinely need each other. Because when Daria, who was amazing, you won't know, but I'm just filling in words, said, "I can't do it," Brad said, "Yeah, you can, because if I can, you can." And then when Sam, who was 10, going, "I'm not sure about this," Duncan, who was, I think, 87, was like, "I believe in you." So there is this, I don't know if that works in HR world, but I imagine if you have a gang of talented people and you go, you might not feel like you can, but she thinks you can, and the other way around.
Yeah. Incredible. And if you haven't watched it, just even if you watched the last episode,
I haven't seen it. I can't watch myself.
No, you don't watch yourself, but all of that is just so telling. So I want to go to some really deep intellectual questions now. There's a great one about, you're well known for prioritizing sleep, naps. How do you manage to do that with all your work and family commitments?
I had a nap today. And by the way, I was filming in Liverpool Street Station for the piano on Monday and Tuesday. And there was, anyway, I sat down on a curved bench. I don't know whether you've done this before, the one that goes like that. I didn't have a pillow, I didn't have a blanket. I just had to shut down like I was about to say, I'm not as intelligent as a computer, as a tea's maid. I don't know, probably just need some time off. And I had 20 minutes. So my mum was a journalist, as we discussed, when I was about 13, went for one of those, I don't know whether, you're doing it today. I imagine, where you go for lunch and you don't know who you're with, and she was sitting there, she was a journalist, and she happened to be sitting next to a brain surgeon. Can you imagine an actual, not like, people go, yeah, I'm as clever as an actual brain surgeon, so the smartest person ever. And they were conversing and they were chatting and blah, 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 and he was like, how old are your kids? And she was like, 13 and 8 or whatever. Anyway, when they got up to leave, and he went, oh, by the way, never tell your daughter or your child to get out of bed, because they are restoring themselves. They are fixing everything while they sleep. So my mum went, OK. And it stuck with her. And she came home, called a family meeting, slightly dramatic, there were 4 of us. And she said, I'm never going to tell you to get out of bed again. And when it gets a bit too much, I'm going to tell you to go to sleep. I just thought to my daughter, Tilda, who just came out of maths, she's got chemistry tomorrow, and I insisted you go home, you lie down for half an hour. So I had a tiny bedroom with a single bed. There wasn't enough space to stand up on the floor. You had to change while standing on the bed. And all my friends slept at mine because, top to toe, 4 of us, can you imagine like that? And because I had the only mum who never said, you're wasting the day, or come on, up at 'em, or what are you having for breakfast? And Sunday lunch, when I became proper, grumpy teenager, was put back and put back and put back because I was sleeping. And my stepdad, all he wanted to do was watch Arsenal, and she was like, you're going to have to watch it without the volume. He was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was fast asleep, and I do the same with my children now, and I can see it. Even my son, who's 21, I'm fine, Mum. What? I like boobs, and I like beer, and I like da. Give me your phone, get into bed. So, yeah, I think it's the answer.
Great question, a great answer there. I love a good nap too, except I can't do a 6 p.m. nap. You seem to have nailed how to do a 6 p.m.
I do a 6 p.m. nap. I used to nap at work because it's I know I'm freelancer, sometimes I can go home, but I would have a meeting, put a meeting in, and just have a little shut-eye, like that, on the desk, just to shut, because also these phones, which are disasters, were never off. It's constant. Everyone feels indispensable. Everybody is dispensable. It's the end of, sorry, got to return that. Oh yeah, my friend made I don't know, avocado on toast for breakfast. It's all painfully moronic, and it's just got to be off. Imagine being my kid. I'm really annoying.
Quite a few people want to know, do you get to pick the traitors?
So there's a gang of us. There's probably 7 of us. So Mike and Sarah, who are the bosses, the brilliant casting team, I interview them all in front of a fireplace where there's a big thing of gold. So you can decide before you go in. You think these people would be good. But then in those chats, you work it out. And then we go into a room with often enough chocolate to kill a rugby team. Those those assorted chocolate biscuits. Am I allowed to say where from? They're heavily coated in chocolate from M&S, the round ones, the circles. We don't even take the wrappers off. And then we work it out. And sometimes I will really fight for somebody. So series 1, they really wanted Will. And I was like, I don't know what. And turns out I loved him, cried when he left, slightly embarrassing. And I really wanted Alyssa. So you work it out. I hope you like the next one.
I'm going to go back to...
And also, I really wanted Diane. And they wanted Diane. And Diane sat opposite me and just was like, are you mad? I can't do her voice, but of course I don't. And you can't... If somebody doesn't... traitor's one, faithful of one, you think everybody wants to be a traitor, but they actually don't. It's really hard work to be a traitor. You are tap dancing all the time. So if somebody's specifically saying, Ivan in series 1 would have been an amazing traitor, but he was desperate to be a faithful, so you have to respect their views. Also in HR, I imagine, when somebody says, I want to do this, and you go, no, I wanted to do that, you have to listen.
Perfect.
Which is annoying.
I'm going to ask you a semi-serious question that we pre-arranged. And this thing about imposter syndrome, you talk about it in your book. And I thought it was really interesting how
I'm a big fan.
You use that to keep you real. So explain why that's good for you, other people, good for well-being. Why is imposter syndrome so important?
I mean, I know I shouldn't say this, but the whole idea of well-being, guys.
You could say it.
Enough. Have a hot bath. Tell me, don't tell me. I don't give a shit. That's A. B, I find that... am I in trouble? And... no, it's important within reason. No, it's very important. But, you know, that we'll feel good when we nap, when we spent some time with friends, when we are appreciated at work, maybe if there's some free toast. I'm a massive believer. Honestly, the happiest places I've ever worked, there was always a breakfast area. I was like, who knew that's all it takes? There's some spreadable butter and some Marmite and an old cracker. I'm a massive fan of imposter syndrome because have you met people who don't have it? Yeah, we don't want to sleep with them or talk to them. So, not cripplingly bad, and obviously I'm not... Some people do struggle with anxiety, and of course they do, and they really worry they're not up to it, and that's heartbreaking. Those people should be given all the support. But the people who go, guys, I've got this, don't worry, watch me, born for this, that's disgusting. So I think always questioning why and knowing that you're lucky is a lovely thing. I've said that, I say it all the time to my kids.
So on that note, I'm wondering if you've got any tips of how do you deal with that? Because probably there's a few people in this room going, that's my boss. I've got an imposter syndrome boss who just thinks I've got it.
I tell you exactly how to do that is we've all had dick bosses, but you're incredibly nice, you're incredibly polite. Did you have a good weekend? Oh, sorry, did you say one sweet? No, I didn't realise. Silly me. Let me remake that for you. And you go, because that's the way of the world, right? We can't love our bosses, that's a nonsense. But then, come 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whenever it is, and you go for a drink or you phone the other people you work with, you slag them off till your ears bleed. You've got to. And you're not casual about it. You're not like, oh, yeah, well, I suppose he could be slightly less toxic. No, you crush him down. You pull him down with the best words you know how. You swear till... and you wake up dead popes because they are offended by your language. And then you go in the next day and say, hi, yeah, did you have a good evening? You bored me fucking rigid about a barbecue you were making. Well done, you turned a sausage. I mean, it's so painful. But I think the power of sticking together with your peers and knowing when an arsehole is in the room, almost, it pricks the balloon, if you like, because you can't get rid of bad bosses. And also, we've had overly nice bosses. Hey, oh, don't hate me, but I saw this pencil and I thought of you. Creepy. Creepy, because I don't know about you, I'm just earning a living. So... I think the most... Is it bad what I'm saying? But
no, I think it's...
That is well-being.
Like they're rewriting their well-being programmes as you talk, it's fine.
I'm sorry, but I think sharing, I suppose, like keeping stuff in is not good. So finding your peers to go, did you hear that muppet in the meeting who made us all feel bad or who was showing off or thinks we're interested in their 4-year-old? Or their re-wallpapering scheme, or their shit-sounding boyfriend, but they don't know anything about us, and all of those kinds of things. I promise you, it is good for your well-being, and it's important. I don't know if nobody should write that down.
Well, basically, all the opposite is the good stuff to do. So very, very deep question. Hair shine, what's your secret?
Head and shoulders.
And off the record.
Head and shoulders. No, I don't. I don't even think it is. No, look at me, disgusting. Oh, look, I showed you my scalp. They love it when I show people my scalp. I don't know why it's weird. No, thank you, whoever said that.
And then you've mentioned your kids a few times. You're a parent of teenagers, 20-somethings. And I'm really interested to get your take. And again, you've got quite strong views about how you think the younger generation are handling their well-being differently. We've got a world of social media, self-obsession, expectation of being constantly happy. That attitude feels different. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're like that as well. But you've got some strong views about what you expect of your kids and going out to work.
Well, I'm not very nice. I mean, no, listen, they're the loves of my life. Regarding the teens and well-being, they don't stop talking about it. And 2, I am concerned, and I've said this to them a lot because I'm allergic to them being on their phones and the social media and the comparing and contrast. And I've tried to explain that it's never a post, it is always a boast. The obsession with self, really, I have no time for. So if one of them feels a bit wobbly, they should go and volunteer, and they do go and volunteer. So right, how am I feeling? Mum, do you think that I'm just the I thing? And that comes from also endless, I know this is boring, but in the olden days, I am 52, I'm older than all of you put together. You never took a photograph of yourself. Somebody took a photograph of you because they love you, or because you're doing something funny, or because you're doing something stupid, or because you're holding their baby, or a dog, or a duckling. Don't hold a duckling, that's not allowed. Whatever it is. And now they are constantly in their sights. And they're very worried about themselves. And there are lots of kids who are in need of help and who are struggling. And my worry is if everybody's worried about themselves, then those people aren't going to get the attention. I know just from one of my kids in their class, somebody was having a really tricky time, but because everybody decided they also were having a tricky time, it's an absolute nonsense. And the other thing about social media is throughout civilizations, centuries and centuries, people were really worried about envy. People would wear talismans to try and make people like, there's nothing to see here. Oh, I don't know, nothing, no biggie. And now people are just showing off. And they're also showing off in a way, I don't know, I think it's toxic. And they're looking for endless validation. And just the worry about themselves. We all know if we want to make ourselves feel better, it's buying something for somebody who's homeless, or it is, if you can't do a whole day of volunteering, it's going on Just Giving and just choosing something at random and giving them a tenner, or whatever it is that you can give. I've seen it. I've been a trustee for Comic Relief now for 20 years. I know it's very easy to say everybody's working very hard. Lots of people don't have any money, so maybe it's not money, maybe it's half an hour, maybe it's something like that. But I think the inward looking, I'm not into it. I mean, but that's how I was brought up. My dad always said, this is new, this whole sense of, there is no, don't worry about this, worry about out.
Very true.
But try telling that to my 21-year-old.
Great question that's just come in here. Is your fringe so long to cover your eyes because of your arachnophobia, or to stop people noticing that you're napping?
Both. I love that. Both of those. I am -15, so people are like, doesn't your fringe bother you? I was like, I can't see anything anyway. Literally makes zero difference. No, I don't know what's under here. Squirrels, soup. Nobody wants to see. Do you know, I've got no mirrors in my house. My mum brought me up in a house without mirrors because that's my other problem with social media, I suppose, because of they look at themselves all the time, I said, because she said, what you look like, that can't be the thing, right? This shell that is going to get decrepit. Like, my body's made of crepe now. It's like horrendous. But I have one mirror where we brush our teeth. And I clipped up my fringe and walked past it, like the mirror the other day, but quite fast. And I thought, I didn't even invite Ozzy Osbourne round. I don't know why he's in my bathroom, naked. I don't know what the question was. I hope that's helpful.
Well, I think we're kind of winding towards the end. And I know everybody's noticed that I know you probably haven't noticed, but there's a question about pay, but I've avoided that one because you don't get involved with pay at the BBC, do you? No. So I thought I'd skirt that just in case everybody's going, why isn't she asking the question?
All I'll say is I think it was very good that they were published because I think there's been some levelling out.
Good answer. I could have asked that question on that one. So I want to say a very big thank you for Claudia for joining us today, having some home truth, saying it like it is.